On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are talking Discovery 503 Jinaal, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in on two lifelong friends talk about Star Trek come hell or high water.
Oh.
My name's Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Roberson. I did not realize it was that.
Oh, yes.
I didn't know it was that deep.
Though the flames of hell lick at my heels, we will continue.
You say so, man. Are the flames of hell licking at my heels the fans that are going to be angry that I didn't like this episode?
It depends on why, I guess.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I liked parts of it.
I also liked parts of it. I liked this episode. It doesn't stand out that much in my head. Part of it is because I got back from that trip and watched 3 episodes in the course of 24 hours or whatever. So I watched 2, we podcasted, then I watched 3, part 3, and they're all kind of blurring together for me. Like, this episode seemed fine. It was a part of the mystery. It felt like a piece of the whole that we're getting this season. But I do think that the individual stories in this episode were a little thin.
Yeah.
I enjoy the reference to Trill. Like, hey, it's a Trill.
Yeah.
But come on, give me a Dax or something.
I don't need a Dax. I don't give a shit.
I do. I would love for like them to be like working around the pools and like Dax be like one of the dignitaries or whatever. It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, okay. First of all, I don't know, because I watched this episode right after the great news that Star Trek Strange New Worlds has been renewed for a 4th season, but that the 5th season of Lower Decks will be the final season. So I'm really bummed out about Lower Decks being canceled.
Yeah.
And I feel like this episode had some somewhat specific Lantern song, and I don't know that they intended it to be, but it felt like it felt like Kalzara Bix the entire time was like, please let me rest, let me die. And I feel like that's just like Star Trek in some ways, just being like, okay, it's done, please just let me go.
I don't think that was deliberate at all.
But, the whole episode also feels like for me, it feels like what Reno referred to herself as a woo-woo asshole. I'm like, oh God, there's just so much like CW bullshit, like rattling about connection and and changing. And I'm like, yeah, it's life. I'm tired. I don't care. I was very, like connection is like the big theme in this episode, and the season they're trying to solve a puzzle with pieces that connect. But like you got the Adira Gray thing, you've got the Rayner and the crew, the Jinaal and Culber thing. Which, by the way, did you feel like Culber when he became Jinaal just sounded like LeVar Burton?
No, I didn't. But he did have like a lower voice.
He did, but his cadence changed, and he sounded like LeVar Burton. Like, I literally looked at my wife, and she paused it. We both said LeVar Burton at the same time.
No, I didn't. I did not think LeVar Burton at all. But I see what you're saying. There is a certain affect that LeVar Burton can put on that would remind me of that. For sure. Yeah. I in general he was just playing like a looser character, like a looser character, and the voice got a lot deeper and a little gravelier and stuff. Like it was cool to see that actor get a chance to just. I feel like they've done a number of things with that actor specifically, where they've just given him like chances to do sort of other things with his character, which I think has been really fun for him.
Yeah, he's great. I love that actor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the Tarina Saru connection. They've just been they really hammered it home, and they had 4 separate storylines going this episode, and I feel like it was very jumbled and very uneven, like they were trying to do too much.
Yeah, like I said, I think as a piece of the overarching story, this episode works. As like, the next chapter in the story of the puzzle, but as a as a meal, I always talk about like how you want the episode to feel like a part of the whole season, but you want it to also feel like a meal itself. This one does not feel like a meal at all to me. I think there's just too many disparate things going on, like you said, and a lot of them don't really land for me. Like, for a show with as much, like, it doesn't have fear of giving me just like, here is the moral of the story. I feel like a couple of these were just decided not to do that, which isn't a bad thing, but I also, like, I don't need you to tell me the moral of the story, right? What I need you to do is show me by the actions of the characters what the moral of the story is, right? So what am I supposed to learn about Rainer in this episode?
He's a dick.
Well, sure. But also, like, they started to do this thing where they sort of, like, undermined the whole thing where, like, when they did come back to him, he was, like, he was knowledgeable about the crew and, like, actually seemed to know a little more than they said. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good reader of people and understander of people. I think they were trying to show us that. So they're trying to show us that, but they're also not, like, trying to let Tilly lose the conversation, which is annoying. I kind of wish they let Tilly go, like, oh, well, you did actually learn a lot from those 5 minutes with the people. Maybe this form of the whole ship is friends. The crust, I think I combined crew and ship there. The whole
I like it.
The whole ship is friends, and they're all best friends, and they're all a family. Like Discovery has been, because they've been their only like source of people that had to travel thousands of years together or whatever. Like,
not so much anymore.
Not anymore. I agree, but they were, so they became so tight. Yeah. But that's not the only way a ship can work, and that's kind of not always the best way a ship works. And so Rainer has a different take, and I thought it'd be interesting if Tilly learned something from Rainer, but instead she just goes, it's not the same thing as connection. And then that's the end. And it's like, but he did like, it, yes, you're right. He doesn't have the same kind of captaining style that Michael Burnham has. And like, yes, he will likely learn from you, but maybe you should learn from him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's been a successful captain for lots of years. Like, maybe there's something, maybe there's a give and take here, but there wasn't. It just like, yeah, it was weird. I don't know what I'm supposed to learn from that. It felt like they just wanted Tilly to win the conversation. I didn't like it.
They definitely did. But the other thing is, like, Tilly was right. I mean, analysis is not the same as connection, and connection works both ways. So, like,
sure,
him just, like, he was absolutely a dick to all those people. He's like, there's 22 words, get out. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he just because he knows he's figuring stuff out about them doesn't mean that they care about him or like him or want to help him out in any way. So she was right. Like, I was almost like, I think I almost had like the opposite fear, because when he just starts rattling about all the people, all the things he knows, it almost felt like that was going to be like a button to see I care, and she won't have a comeback. But when she said that analysis isn't the same as connection, it goes both ways. I was just like, yes, both things are true. Like, he cares more than he looks like he cares. But also, she gave him something to think about, and I like that. Now, I didn't need him smiling like a goofball while she sat and drank and laughed awkwardly with her so-called friends. By the way, I thought it was hilarious that Michael brought him in to introduce him to the crew, and about half of them we haven't been introduced to, because they've added new people.
Right. That's funny.
I was like, oh, good. Are we finally getting introduced to the crew of Discovery after 5 years? And I was like, oh, we've got an introduction. Still don't know him.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that storyline, I just felt like it was thin and not very well realized and not like clear on what they're trying to say. Like I guess I know. I don't know if this episode taught me anything more about Raynor or about Tilly. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like I know more.
Yeah, I have more questions. Like, why was Tilly put in charge of this? Like, Tilly is supposed to be way smarter and have like actual shit going on,
right? And Culber would be the person, but he's off the ship. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Doesn't Culber have like a second in like medical or in psychology or whatever?
I don't know.
Then you have the side story of Adira and Gray, and it's like, I haven't seen them together in so long. I don't know that I would almost, I didn't care about this breakup at all.
Right. And, at the risk of being rude, I still feel like those two actors haven't figured out how to act. It still feels like watching an 8th grade play. But, they went out of their way to say, we've talked through hollow bullshit and it's not the same. And I'm like, why isn't it the same? Because in 800 years ago, they could have sex with holograms and shit. They could do all this stuff and touch. And, you would think that 800 years in the future, you could show up in the room as a hologram, but still feel all the things. You could transfer sensory or something. But either way,
sure,
they haven't shown us them having any kind of connection. At this point, why don't you just break up off screen too? I don't need to see that. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah, especially as just such a big moment. And it almost felt like they just want to do something else with the character and they just needed to wrap this up. But I was just kind of like, do you need to wrap this up? But yeah, it was fine. I actually liked their breakup. The actual breakup was good. I liked that it was so evolved, for lack of a better term. Just kind of, I don't think we work anymore. Yeah, I think you're right. It came off a little emotionless maybe, but it's, but I like the idea of being able to just acknowledge that things have moved on and not have to make it dramatic and so I thought as an example of a way of a relationship can end, it was kind of nice.
Yeah. I found it awkward and detached, which is what they've always been. So I kind of just went, why are we watching this? Come back and say yep, me and Gray, we broke it off. Time to get me some Strange. Just whatever. Do something interesting, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Do something interesting.
I think maybe those characters specifically, and Adira specifically, there's sometimes because of the representation of certain characters, they're scared to do something bold with those characters.
Yep.
And maybe they will. I hope they will. Because I think sometimes there's this sort of, you ever heard the term bigotry of low expectations?
No, actually, I have never heard that. Explain that to me.
It's the idea that you're proud of someone who is of a different race or gender because they did something very normal, right? Oh, I'm so proud of you. You got a job. And it's I'm a person. I got a job. It's weird to be proud of a person. It's I don't know. Anyway, so that's the bigotry of low expectations. There's this other thing I think you get with these kinds of shows that are trying to trailblaze and include representation. I think sometimes there's a bigotry of perfection on these shows. And it almost, the relationship and that breakup.
They're scared to show them in a negative light because they think it'll be
precisely.
It'll be interpreted as indicative of bigotry.
Itself. I get it from one point of view, from a certain point of view, as I say, as I quote a different Star franchise. I get it because there's that whole thing where every time for the 90s, like every time a gay couple was on screen, one of them would die. Like it was like a thing. And it's like, I get you don't want to do that. You don't want to go too far with it, but that's the hard thing about making media in a world where you're not making all the media in the world. You're just making the media you're making, you know? And so like, it's not your responsibility to make sure that every gay couple doesn't end in tragedy. Like that's like that's the trope. It's also not necessarily not your job to like not kill or have a fight among your gay protagonists. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's a very weird, cause like as a culture, we need to move on from certain tropes, but as a show, you can't treat your,
you can't be precious with everyone.
Yeah, you can't be so precious with your representational characters that they don't feel human.
Yeah, like to me, the point of being represented is to show that those people as people.
Yeah, 100%.
Like everyone has flaws. Everyone does fucked up shit. Yeah, and can't get back from it.
100%. And while I really watching it, I didn't think about that. I was thinking of them as just two characters, and I was thinking of them as like, oh, like I like how evolved this breakup is. Now thinking about it, I'm kind of like, but I kind of wish the characters were going off the rails a little bit, you know, like let them have the emotion that they're clearly like trying not to give them in this moment.
Yeah. This breakup felt very Next Generation Roddenberry.
That's what I was going to say, that exact thing. The thing that Roddenberry did on the Next Generation that made that show suffer in some ways.
Mm-hmm. It was good in some ways because
of course,
it made them find inventive ways of doing things.
Of course,
sometimes.
Of course. Like I love the Next Generation. It has its place, but the thing that we
and that place is in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant. I don't know. I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. It was just funny to me.
Come on, Dave. We've moved on. TV shows have other roles now.
Next Generation is a 1950s housewife. That's what that is.
Weird. But yeah, anyway, I think we've said enough about it, but I do think that was, I just didn't, overall, that there was no meat to that, in my opinion. It was just kind of, yeah, it was what it was. I don't understand, what we're again, like, what do we know about Adira now that we didn't know before? They're single, you know what I mean? Like, that's
you
it.
Got me.
And then I also feel the same way about the puzzle story. Like, I feel like this was our best look into the actual people who were this cabal that created the puzzles, and I thought that was so cool. But I was like kind of disappointed in how much we learned, you know?
Yeah. Well, it was annoying because he's like, I won't tell you their names. And I'm like, we'll find out by the end. And it's going to be some Easter egg where we're supposed to care.
Oh, interesting. I don't think that. I think that we likely won't get another glimpse of who they were at all. I think this is our one glimpse at who the characters who created it are, and everyone else we're just never going to know.
Oh, no, I don't agree. In fact, I'll say I think one of them is probably Spock.
Interesting.
Because this was during the Dominion War. He would have still been in the prime timeline.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, who else do you go to?
Yeah, I just think you don't. But yeah, it'd be cool if it was. I'd be down. It'd be interesting, especially if we had like a holo from them or something. That would be neat. Yeah. Okay. It could be. Could be.
I mean, I won't care if it's not. I'm pretty apathetic right now. As far as this storyline is going. I mean, it was kind of neat that they were in a place. I do like the idea that they were in a place where they were like, nah, we can't let anybody know this because the Dominion War is happening. Nobody trusts anybody. It's going to be bad.
Yeah. It's also neat that this show is picking up a thread or placing a thread in the Dominion War era. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool that this is connecting to the Dominion War era.
Yeah.
Ooh. But, okay, Dominion War era. Now, I would care if they connected it to a DS9 character. Who would that character be? I could see a Julian connection with the whole, like, Section 31 business and all that, like maybe they need the help of those like 4 augments or whatever that he used to work with. Like I could see that. Like that would be a deep cut. I would love if we find out those 4 augments are part of the cabal that like hid this from humanity, because like they would be ready for it, but the rest of humanity is not, or like the rest of the people are not. Like that would be really fun.
That would be kind of cool, yeah. If it was them, I would be more excited by that than if it was Spock.
Yeah,
I think they would choose Spock specifically to connect with Michael and make her all teary-eyed for another second. But
I didn't even think about that. But you're right. You're right, man. I didn't think about the connection. They're not going to
call back those people.
I didn't think. Yeah, no, they're not. That was just like my much better idea. But like. Just teasing. but no, your idea is perfect. If they can end the season with like a message from the Cabal, and it's like Michael's last episode, and like they're doing a big thing, and she gets a message from her brother, and it's like they're talking about like how he hopes one day they find their way, that like the humanoids in the galaxy find their way to a peaceful place, and this is the test her brother specifically needed humanoids to pass to finally be able to be trusted, that he would trust humanoids with this technology if they could pass this test, and she is the one who's able to pass it. That's beautiful. And if they don't do it, I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, and now they certainly won't. I don't think it's a coincidence that she like went back to Vulcan meditation though. By the end of the episode, after Culber was like, "It used to help you. Why, why aren't you doing that?"
Interesting.
Yeah. So
who would they? Like, this is total speculation bullshit. But like.
And oddly, I think the best part of our episode.
It's always like, and it's always what ruins the seasons for us when we come up with some weird, cool connection to our favorite stuff in Star Trek, and then it turns out to be, I enjoy.
I like for it to be on record that we wrote a better thing. By the way, we don't need to do this with Strange New Worlds.
Yeah,
just saying.
If they did that, who would play Spock? You think they'd do it like Harold Ramis style with like a collection of people and CGI, and like it'd be similar because it'd be that like ghostly thing, Yeah,
I don't know. They might go Ethan Peck. They might go Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, I was thinking they could do Ethan Peck and age him up, but yeah,
she's already seen old Leonard Nimoy Spock from Unification.
Sure.
So we know that he would have to look something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I've seen some impressive AI stuff going on with voices.
Yeah.
Where they could, like, have a performer and then match that voice to Leonard Nimoy's voice.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. That'd be a really, really cool way to end Discovery. For her character. It, like, would almost give a reason that she was his sister all this time. It's like, I mean, it was nice during like season 2 that they like that whole plot line where Spock was in this show. That was fun. But like, and it was nice that spun out into its own show, and we love Strange New Worlds. So, but like, other than that season, I feel like the idea of her being Spock's sister has been a complete like just an Easter egg almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's been a connection for connection's sake.
You know what would be neat, and they might do it because I know from listening to Alex Kurtzman that basically, and Mike McMahon, that everyone was vying to use Wesley Crusher in their show.
Oh, Oh, yeah.
What would be really neat is if Wesley Crusher shows up, and we know from Picard season 3 and season 2 that he's working with the supervisors, the Gary Sevens and whatnot. It would be neat if he shows up and explains to Michael that in the original timeline, Maul and Locke found the technology and created such great destruction, and maybe was even responsible for the Vidraish timeline that we saw.
Yeah.
And the idea being that Wesley Crusher and his associates specifically put Michael into Sarek's home and deviated the timeline.
Oh, I like that.
Because statistically, that was where she needed to be so that they could find the piece of the progenitor's puzzle or whatever.
Yeah, they designed this timeline to save the future. Yeah, I like that. That's fun. That's real fun. Yeah, so, all right. So it's going to be Spock was working with those 4 augments and Wesley Crusher.
And why not, Dr. Zimmerman?
Yeah.
He's just over there creating progenitor EMHs.
Yeah. That's actually how he created the EMH, was using the technology, which is why it became sentient.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Doesn't make any sense, but I like it.
They created a different kind of life, and it was the EMH.
It makes no sense in just the way that fan wank does.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Okay. Returning back to the episode.
Do we have to?
I mean, we live in our own world now. And we're going to, now that we've done this to ourselves, we're going to be like coming back to it all season.
I dig it. It'll make every episode better.
I don't think that's
until the last one where they don't do what we wanted at all.
Yep. Okay. Well, I feel like there was one other storyline we hadn't touched on. No, I think we got it. I think we got all the main stuff.
Oh, you know what? When Stamets comes in, he's like, "Oh, it might be able to reanimate the dead." Somebody's going to die.
Oh, yeah, that's very possible.
Somebody's going to die, and they're going to use it to reanimate the dead.
Yeah, I see that. I like it.
We got us a Khan's blood tribble on our hands, everyone.
A Khan's blood tribble? I don't know what you're talking about.
Star Trek Into Darkness, when Kirk dies the way Spock did in Wrath of Khan, and then McCoy realizes using Khan's blood, he could reanimate the tribble, and he can now reanimate Kirk with Khan's blood because he.
Okay,
it was stupid.
Yeah. I forgot the tribble of it all.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, anything else? Anything else with this episode? You want to do the news?
I've talked about whatever news I care about.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Okay, cool.
We have some feedback, though.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. We got Tim Castillo says, even though this is not my favorite episode, I am still looking forward to this season. And what has been set up, these don't seem to be galaxy-ending master plan type of villains. So I do think they'll end up getting ground by whatever gears are starting to turn. I think the gears that are starting to turn, Tim, is the Breen, because they've mentioned it now twice.
Mm-hmm.
Their fate will be in the hands of Burnham, which means one of the big things this season will be that she will need to decide between rescuing them or getting the progenitor technology. Yeah, I don't think Maul and Locke are the final villains of the season.
Oh yeah.
Though I did think the most interesting thing about this episode, aside from the Dominion War stuff, was that Maul put that tracker on Adira in the caves.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, and Stu Little here introducing the new power couple, Satrina.
Who?
He says, "Hello, Jinaal. Adira and Gray relationship subplot. That's certainly."
What?
He wrote multiple Z's.
Oh, okay.
The Adira and Gray relationship subplot is snoring.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Hugh's symbiont persona voice sounds like he's trying to do a Jeffrey Wright impression. Not what I got at all, Stu.
Yeah.
I can see it.
It is a deeper voice. I will say that. I said a deeper voice, which is my favorite thing about that Jeffrey Wright. Uatu, on what if? That's terrible. That wasn't good.
That was like Michael Dorn.
That was a Michael Dorn. I always like when I'm watching a bunch of What If though. It's like my favorite accent to do. I love trying to do a Jeffrey Wright as a Uatu.
I am not a merry watcher.
So, okay, real quick. This is X-Men 97. You watched this week?
Yeah.
That Uatu, man. It's got me excited.
I know.
It's got me excited.
I know.
What's it mean?
Remember it. Anyway.
Sorry, X-Men 97 episode 5 was really good, you guys.
Yeah. It was the polar opposite of this episode of Discovery.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And that's wild, man. That's wild. I don't hate this episode. It just, this episode is not memorable to me. That episode of X-Men 97, I feel like is going to be like just on my memory forever. Like, it's so good. And we talked a lot about it off cast or a little bit, and like they did some big things in that episode, which I'm not going to spoil, but we're like discussing whether they're going to undo certain things they did. And it's the episode's so good, I don't mind if they keep the things done. Like, that would be a fine way for these characters and things to change. Like, it's really good.
I need that shit to be a fixed point. That's all I'm saying. Back to Star Trek and Stu's feedback.
Yeah, sorry, Stu.
Quote, last time I did this, they gave me chips. Potato chips, or is Reno revealing she's in AA? It did feel like an intervention.
Yeah, I think that was an AA thing.
Is it an AA thing?
Yeah, they give you chips, like a 6-month chip, 1-year chip. Last time I did this, they gave me chips. I forget what she was doing, because she was talking like about, I forget why she said that. Like, what was she doing before she said that?
Oh, that's when she had to go in and give her 20 words to Raynor.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely AA. Yeah, she's definitely, like, that fits her character perfectly, that she would be an AA.
Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking potato chips, like a bowl of potato chips during an intervention, which is kind of the same concept.
That's funny. Yeah, I definitely think they mean AA. That's fun. That's fun. That's a funny joke. But, you know.
Yeah. Stu says, how are long-distance relationships even that troublesome in Star Trek, especially in this era? I reckon they have had enough time to develop the tech to connect 2 separate holodecks via subspace, like some high-speed internet, so people can have essentially in-person dates at long distances. If we can have a musical episode, then that's not too far-fetched. That's kind of what I was saying, Stu. I agree.
I agree with that. And that takes care of the sexual side of things, or like the touch side of things. But I don't think that's the only thing that connects 2 people. You know, like, first of all, the tech wouldn't always work. It'd be like we have Skype today. It works sometimes. It doesn't work all the time. And also, you'd have to be in a certain room, or you'd have to be in a private or blah. Like, there's a whole thing to it where, like, like, not only that, but also you living your life together, and is not only about like you two getting a chance to be together, but it's also interacting with all of your friends together, and like being on the same ship and having the same world and interacting with the same people, and like having sort of like a shared like frame of reference. And I think that maybe they could have wonderful sex, but like they're not together. It's still the same thing as being together in the same location.
Which makes me think that, like, because, like, they have holograms popping up all over the damn ship at this point on this show. So Gray could definitely just, like, get off work, take off the hood and the cloak, and go, like, stroll around Discovery in holodeck form.
Sure.
With Adira. And have the friends, and have the life, and go back to the quarters, and they go to sleep. And even though Gray is asleep in the catacomb, I
will say this though,
you know,
we were in this episode. They had a hologram of the main robe guy, Z or whatever.
And it was a little glitchy.
It was glitchy. So you imagine, like, I just don't imagine that even in this far in the future, the tech of just being able to like go home to your family a million light years away and just like walk around, because they were at the planet and there was still glitches, still there was like a ripple happening on his head, like it's just not there. And I think like over much distance, that's probably not even worse fidelity,
I feel like there are also like it seems like there are certain rules in place for these Trill monks, because like
sure,
Adira was like, "Can I give you a hug?"
Right. Yeah, I think that was supposed to be just Adira having like an awkward moment. I think that because Gray hugged them, and like, so I think it was just but even so, this order of monks, even if they don't have rules against like, I don't know, whatever they want to do, it's just a very time consuming thing. You know what I mean? Like it's possible they're just like they're at the monk camp 18 hours a day and they're not spending a lot of time with their partner.
We got to be at the monk camp 18 hours a day, giving speeches about connection.
Yeah, that's right.
Because this old lady finally died.
That's right.
And that's what she's been wanting. Every day, for 800 years, she's been complaining that she wants to die.
Yep.
If she finally gets it, and where this is more not a celebration of life, but it's a celebration of death. Mm-hmm. We were tired of hearing her too.
Oh. Well, the symbiote swam away. Are we supposed to think that is the symbiote like going back to the waters to die?
I don't know if it's going back to die, but it's getting the hell away from that old lady that wanted to die.
Sure.
But they did say the symbiote wanted to rest, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the symbiote wanted to rest, and they said this was on the extreme edge of what a symbiote can live. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming the symbiote is, like, going off to die.
Thank Christ we finally got rid of that damn puzzle shit. We can die. This is up to y'all now. I don't know. I'm done.
Mm-hmm. Swim away.
You know how many crossword puzzles and word finds I've done waiting on y'all's asses? Come on.
4 lifetimes worth of word finds. If you're going to go with something, you got to go with something other than a word find.
I don't know, man. That's what all old people do. They just wind up sitting there doing word finds.
I feel like word finds are like the lowest form of those kinds of puzzles. But like, as you get older, the unfortunate truth is you have to go to the lower forms of the puzzles.
Yeah. These are my favorite because I remember them.
This bummed me out. Yeah. Let's move on.
Stu says, quote, one could use it to design new life forms, accelerate evolution. I think you'll find we already have a foolproof method for the second one, Stamets. Go watch a little Voyager episode called Threshold, mate.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, we just turned into big salamanders, don't we? Stu says, more phaser beam action with the wound cauterizing. I liked it. I liked it. I thought that made sense. But I think that it wasn't specifically a phaser. I think it was maybe adjusted to be the what was it, the
dermal regenerator is the thing they normally use.
Dermal regeneration, yes. Stu says, stop giving Rayner a hard time. Someone needs to pick up the torch of lovable asshole captains that Shaw dropped. Yeah, I'll give him a hard time. Stu says, stupid ass Guardians can't even spot a peroxide haired human intruder. I mean, yeah, that's a little weird. Stu says, slower episode with a few things I was a bit meh on, but it still moves the plot along. I will point out, though, this quote, it's important to connect theme would have fit just as well with the more obvious route the show could have taken of Discovery being the vanguard of reestablishing the Federation by visiting different worlds while hostile parties try to sabotage it. Also, will these sons of bitches wrap up the Calypso mystery before the end or not? I'm hoping, Stu. You heard my pitch for it.
Yeah. It's a really, really good question, whether that's going to get wrapped up. Because at this point, if they end up the Vidraish, like if that ends up where they're going with this, it's a real bummer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like it's still not on their mind. They brought Zora in like last season or whatever, like the full-on Zora from the show, from Calypso. So I feel like they're still thinking that's where this is going, you know?
They've mentioned the Vidreish in reference to the Federation right when they got to that century. Mm-hmm. But it would be interesting if the discovery that's in Calypso was a discovery that never had Michael Burnham aboard from an alternate timeline.
Yeah, maybe, but then how do you get to the future, and how do you get Zora and all that stuff? Just all of this stuff plays out the same without Michael, then that's kind of weird too. Like, I guess maybe it could get to the same place and then wouldn't accomplish this final mission, maybe? I don't know.
Well, they've always, they've already mentioned in Star Trek that, like, certain events, like, whenever you alter time tries to push back and tries to heal itself.
Yeah.
So a version of those events might have happened just without Michael.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Or maybe with Michael, but she didn't have the right mindset because she wasn't raised by friggin' Vulcan.
That's true. Good point.
I don't know.
Who told her to try Vulcan meditation again? Culber did, right?
Culber.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to remember and trying to think of, like, if that is, like, a thing, like the Vulcan meditation / Vulcan raising is, like, part of her getting in the right mindset to accomplish whatever task she needed to do. It'd be interesting if, like, Culber was, like an inside man on whatever plan this is. Like, Culber is also, like, one of those Gary Sevens.
Oh, that would be so cool.
It would be cool.
Especially since he was like, what was it? Emotional distress is my thing. Like,
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's fun.
Ooh, yes.
And then, like, you deal with, like, Stamets dealing with the fact that their relationship was all part of some big, like, cosmic plan or whatever, And it's like, he's dealing with his legacy missing. And then, like, Culber's like, you changed me. Like our relationship wasn't part of the plan. Like, you have made an impact on me, and I'm this insane, like, infinity being, and, like, you touched me. You know what I mean? Like, you've touched so many people, but you also touched me.
Yeah, Stamets is definitely heading for a realization that his connection and his legacy, his impact on other people is going to be more important than his name, being...
Yeah. Being spoken 800 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
Man, we're wrapping this stuff up pretty good. We're writing a good final season of Discovery. All right. Well, any others? Is that the last one?
That's it.
Thank you guys.
That's all I got,
Thank you guys for writing in, Timothy and Stu. Well, I am going to go to bed.
Do that.
And thank you guys for listening to the show. We love you very much. I do. Dave's okay on you.
I was going to make that joke.
I know.
You son of a bitch.
Stole it away.
That's not fair. I love your mom. That's just you bastard. That'll work.
Well, yeah. July and true.
Live long and prosper.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Roberson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.